Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Joe Knows the NCAA season, NCAA football, and NFL wild card games preview going on over here. This is going to be my last episode for, I guess, like last in season episode of recapping the college games, obviously because the college games are over, and also I think I'm going to stop just previewing the playoff games because I want to start getting into draft content, and we've got the other content creators here at Toilets and Titles to talk about the NFL wildcard games and the playoff games and so on and so forth. So I'm going to start diving into draft material, into the college draft. So I'm going to start doing that this week. I don't know when I'm going to release the first episode, but I'm going to start. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start talking about players entering the draft for you, the viewer, so you can get ready for the draft coming up at the end of April. We all have our own favorite teams. We know the needs of our favorite teams, and me myself, I'm a Giants fan. We need offensive line, and more offensive line. And if we can get a good pass rusher in there too, that would be awesome. But I'm going to start off by introducing like edge rushers and defensive ends to you, probably the top 10, and then I'm going to move on to, I think, offensive tackles, and then I'll take it from there. Maybe like wide receivers, running backs. I might be saving quarterbacks for last because this is not a good quarterback draft, and I don't think it's all that interesting to talk about, to be honest with you. But I'm probably going to pump out like two of those videos a week. And on Wednesday nights, after the Super Bowl, following the Super Bowl, every Wednesday night, I'm going to have kind of like a draft party where I'm going to have a draft simulator up, and whoever wants to participate, whether it's people from Toilets and Titles, or you, the viewer, you can come in and we're going to do mock drafts. We'll start off doing like the first round for the first few weeks, and then we'll bump it up to 2 rounds and then the first 3 rounds. So it should be a lot of fun. And if no one joins in, then I'm just going to do it myself because that's how I roll, and I can do this type of stuff all day long. I'm the type of person, I do, like, no exaggeration, like 1,000 mock draft simulations every year. I love it, and it's a great way to learn about players too. So you just click on players, and you can do some of your own research. But I want to present to you, like I said, I want to introduce to you, the college players coming into the draft. And I think the best way to do that is to break it down each episode by position. So that's how we're going to do it. I'm really looking forward to doing that. So I'll probably release that first episode this week, and I'm going to try to do two a week until we knock out all the positions, and then we'll go from there. How I'm gonna do something else too with the draft after I go through all those, but that should get us through, like, 2 months of, like, say, like, January and February, or probably into March, and then I'll come up with some other draft material as well. Let me check out the comments. But this is gonna be the last episode where I'm gonna recap the NFL, I should say the NCAA game, and then talk about the wild card games this week. Let's see, comments. Chris's videos. Hey, man, Bills crushed it. Chris's videos. Good morning, man. Good to see you. Thanks for joining the show here. The Bills crushed it. Yeah, man. I thought the Bills would win, but I thought it was going to be a lot closer. I had taken the Patriots getting, I think it was 4 points, and I was wrong. So if you made a bet based on my prediction, I apologize. And Chris says his dad was rooting for the Raiders to win, and he was rooting for the Bengals. You know what? I was rooting for the Raiders too because as Chris knows, I'm a Giants fan, but the Raiders are my number one backup team. So I don't really have too much emotion invested in the Raiders, but I've been, I do have like the Raiders since like the early 1980s. Like the first football game I ever really sat down and watched was the Raiders and Eagles Super Bowl, I think in 1981, and I just loved that silver and black, and they just had this badassery about them that was so cool. And ever since then, I've really liked the Raiders a lot. So I'm a Giants fan, but the Raiders are like my number one backup team. They were in the playoffs. I was rooting for them, and not surprised by the result. I think the Bengals were the better team, and they were playing in Cincinnati, but Raiders had a really good season. I'll cover that in a little bit. Yeah, you know what, Chris? Chris says he knew the Bills were going to win by a lot. You know what, man? For me, in hindsight, I'm surprised I didn't pick the Bills to win by a lot. Um, I thought they would win, but I thought it'd be a close game. But I remember the first game they played against each other. I actually went with I took the Patriots to pull the upset against the Bills, and I was right. And then the second game, I picked the Bills to upset the Patriots, and well, I don't know if it was an upset, but I picked the Bills against the Patriots in the second regular season game. And then in this game, you know what? In hindsight, I'm like, man, I do think the Bills are a lot better than the Patriots, and I don't think the Bills are like I don't think they're as good as like some of the other like five top teams in the NFL, to be honest with you. But I do think they're significantly better than the Patriots. And the Patriots had a great season, and it looks like Belichick's rebuild is going really, really well. And Mac Jones had a good season, but I do think the Bills are much further along than the Patriots. The thing is that Bill Belichick is such a wild card. It's kind of like having a great quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers, like someone or a Tom Brady who can just like pull magic out of their ass. Belichick is like that, so you never know who his teams are going to upset. So, but Chris, good call by Chris. Good call by Chris's videos. He picked the Bills to win by a lot, and he was right. So, well, let's get into the content over here real quick, guys. And well, before we get into the content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Give us that 5-star Apple review because we deserve it. Where you can find the show, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Facebook, where we have 2 pages. That is Toilets to Titles and When a Family Breaks, which is our Facebook page dedicated to the trading of sports memorabilia. Very cool. Check it out. I like it a lot. If you go to patreon.com/toiletstotitles, you can learn how you can further support our wonderful show. And we have our own website, toiletstotitles.com, where you have all of our videos, articles, tons of fantasy and NFL football content. Check it out. Also, it's going to have tons of draft content as well soon enough. But check it out. It's a great website. I'm so proud of it. Anyway, let's get into the final college game of the season, and what a game it was. It wasn't really a close game. Well, it was actually a close game. It was a good game through most of the game. And I gotta say, like I was watching it. I even sent out a tweet, like kind of like I think at the end of like the middle of the second quarter, and I was like, I sent out a tweet saying this is a boring ass game, and it was a boring ass game. I thought it was a boring ass game, to be honest with you. I don't know, it was just something missing from it. And Georgia, number 3 Georgia defeated number 1 Alabama, as you know, 33-18. It actually wasn't an upset because Georgia was favored going into this game. And again, I think I'm usually pretty good with my picks. I got this wrong. I said that going before the game, I said take Alabama. They were getting something like 3 points. I said take Alabama because they're going to win by more than 3 points. And boy, was I wrong. I think Alabama, and I'm not trying to make excuses for Alabama, but I think this is just reality. I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's an explanation. First of all, hats off to Georgia. I'll get to them in a second. But from the Alabama side, I think missing their 2 top wide receivers really hurt. They had lost Mechie a few weeks ago, and he was a really good wide receiver. And then they lost another good wide receiver. What was it? Williams, is that his name? Let me see. I forgot. I'm just brain farting on the name. Jamison Williams. He went down early in the game. So not having those 2 top wide receivers, I think really hurt Alabama a lot. But I don't want to. I'm not trying to take anything away from Georgia, but that hurt a lot. I don't think this Alabama team is as talented as the past few teams. They lost a lot of talent last year. I mean, Alabama always loses a lot of talent to the NFL draft every year, but they're always restocked as well. But I don't think they're as good. Like the players they had on offense are as good. Like I don't think they're wide receivers, even if healthy. Like Mechie and why do I keep brain farting on Williams? I want to say Williamson, but Jameson Williams and Mechie, even if they were healthy, they're not as talented as their last few years of wide receivers. But I think missing those 2 really hurt a lot. It obviously, I think it hurt, Bryce Young's production, obviously, but Georgia's defense came up big. Stetson Bennett had a wonderful game for Georgia, just like mistake free. He looked really, really good. I don't think he's not going to be like, I don't think a good NFL quarterback, but Stetson Bennett played the game of his life in this game. It was mistake free, really crisp, clean. He did a great job. Jameer White, the running back for Georgia, did a really good steady job against that really tough Alabama defense. And Georgia's defense came up big, man. They look good, and Georgia has a lot of good defensive players coming into this draft. Off the top of my head, Lewis Sign, their safety is fantastic. They've got some really good interior. They have some really good interior defensive linemen, and they have some really good linebackers as well coming out Georgia. So, but hats off to Georgia. Kirby Smart, who I like a lot. He's a great head coach for Georgia. He's been close before. He lost a really tough NCAA championship game a few years ago to Alabama. That was the coming out party for Tua when he came out in the second half of that game when Alabama was down big and he led that comeback. That was like 3 years ago, three or 4 years ago, and he led that comeback in the second half against Georgia, and that was a fantastic game. That was an exciting game, and but Georgia was so close. They were so close, and like I said, they were up big at the end of the first half in that game a few years ago. But this game, they held on. Georgia was great. Georgia was ranked number one throughout most of the season, behind that phenomenal defense that Georgia had all season long. They did get their asses kicked. They got their asses handed to them by Alabama a few weeks ago, and that's what led me to believe that, the evil empire is back. Alabama, their talent's showing up now, and I figured that that Alabama was gonna just was gonna win this game, and but I was wrong. And hats off to Georgia. This is the first NCAA championship ever for Kirby Smart. Congratulations to you, Kirby. And this is the first title for Georgia since 1980. So this is the first title for Georgia since Jimmy Carter was president. So it's been a long time, been 42 years. Check out the comments here, Chris. Chris, let's see. Chris is saying the Bears beat both the Raiders and the Bengals. You know what, Chris? Chris is a Bears fan and I'm a Giants fan, so we don't have too much to brag about with our respective teams. Chris, I've got my own fun facts too for my crappy Giants. They beat the Saints, who Saints didn't have a great season, but they are in the playoffs. Am I wrong about that? Are they? Maybe I'm wrong about that, but the Giants did beat the Eagles. And the Giants beat the Raiders too. The Giants handled. This is they still had Daniel Jones, and not that Daniel Jones is a great quarterback, but things do look better still when your starting quarterback, who's not that great, is playing as opposed to your backups, especially when you're not a good team. But the Giants had beaten the Raiders pretty thoroughly in the middle of the season, and they had also beaten the Eagles once in the like kind of like in the middle of the season as well. And both of those teams are in the playoffs. So it's funny how these things work out, man. Yeah, Mike Glennon, you did destroy Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon, I'll tell you, I feel bad for Mike Glennon because the guy's been a respectable backup his entire career. But man, you're on the Giants, they will make you look like crap. If Tom Brady were on the Giants this year, oh my God. I mean, he would have looked like a third string quarterback on that team. And so yeah, Chris, man, yeah. Yeah, that's why I see it too. The Bears are in the championship. That's how I'm like, hey, the Giants are. I can't put them in the championship game theoretically, but I can say, hey, the Giants theoretically should be in the playoffs. So Giants had the Giants didn't get many wins, but some of their wins came against some pretty tough teams. So, but too funny, man. Too funny. Hey, listen, Chris. I think good luck in your. By the way, good luck in your GM search and head coach search for the Bears. I hope you guys hit it out of the park because I don't think you guys are too far off at all from being a really good team. You still have a really good defense. I think you've got good offensive weapons. Yeah, I think you could use more weapons on offense, but I think the Bears, I think they've got pretty good weapons. And Justin Fields will be entering, his second year and his first year as a full-time starter. And I think that dude's got a world of talent. We'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out. But I think that guy's got a world of talent. And if he can play like if he can develop, if he can continue to develop, and hit his potential ceiling, I think you got a hell of a quarterback there, man. I really do. I really do. And if you have your quarterback and you've got a really good defense like you guys have had for the past few years, you could use a little more talent on defense. It's not like it's the '85 Bears we're talking about here, right? But it's a solid defense. And your defense actually kept this Bears team in quite a few games this year. I noticed that. Be gone, blonde, blonde quarterback. Be gone. Yeah, be gone is right. Be gone, Chris. But I think the Bears, man, if Fields develops in the second year and third year of his career, like we hope, I think you're sitting pretty. I really do. I think your Bears is sitting pretty, man. Let's get a good GM and a good head coach for you and for my team. We need it. We deserve it, Chris. We deserve it. All right, guys. Click that off right there. Yeah, yeah, Dalton. I hear you, man. Hey, you know what? Dalton's just a backup anyway. It's all about Justin Fields. And I do like that they didn't rush him if they felt like he wasn't ready. Justin Fields, that is. I thought that was the right move. You don't want to see him get destroyed and ripped apart his rookie year if he's just not ready. And he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Too many people act like you draft a guy in the top half of the first round that he needs to start his rookie year because of the rookie contract, blah blah blah. Don't worry about that. Just worry about getting the quarterback right, developing correctly, and you take it from there. Don't worry about the second contract until it's you know what people if you develop a great quarterback, no one should ever care about that second contract and how it's going to affect your cap space and blah blah blah. Because if you develop a great quarterback, the great quarterback is an equalizer in and of himself. So, hey, Chris, you take care, my friend, and enjoy the playoff games this weekend, man. And go Bears. Except for when they play the Giants. All right, so let's move on to the again. So hats off to Georgia, really good game. Um, they were so sound. It was really, I'm really happy for Georgia, and they defeated the evil empire. And I do not dislike Alabama. I don't hate Alabama. I realize there's some fans of college football that don't like Alabama just because they win all the time. It's the same thing with the Patriots in the NFL. And me myself, I actually respect the Patriots. I love Bill Belichick. He came from my organization, the Giants. I always respect Tom Brady. I like him a lot, and uh, and it's the same thing with Alabama. I just a lot of respect for excellence, and Alabama is excellence. And this is what's really cool about having Alabama in the NCAA championship game is that if you beat them, you know you beat the best. You know you beat the best. So hats off to you, Georgia. Okay, so let's get into the wild card games. Okay, we had two games yesterday, Saturday. I love these Saturday playoff games. I really do. The Bengals defeated the Raiders 26-19. I was rooting for the Raiders since my Giants were out. Like I said, the Raiders are my number one backup team. I was rooting for the Raiders, for the silver and black. It was a good game. And actually, yeah, this was an interesting game. And I thought that it looked like, you know, for much of this game, especially in the first half, it looked like the Bengals were going to just pull away, you know, go up by like two touchdowns, 17 points, like just start to pull away. And it's tough because this game is in Cincinnati. It's cold. Um, and but it wound up being a really good game. The Raiders defense wound up not limiting, but minimizing the damage done by the Bengals offense, especially in the second half. So hats off to you, Raiders. You had a really good game. There was a controversial call where I think it was Tyler Boyd had a touchdown reception that probably shouldn't have been a touchdown reception, but it stood, and that was part of why the Bengals won. But listen, that's not even if say he didn't get the touchdown, Bengals probably still would have gotten a field goal, or at worst, the game, you know, game would have been 19-19, if you will, and the game would have still played out. So it doesn't mean that the Bengals would have lost. It's just that it was a bad call and it shouldn't have happened. And the NFL really needs to do a better job of getting calls correct. I think overall they do an okay job, but calls like that, come on, man, come on. NFL's got to clean that crap up. Anyway, Raiders had a really good season. Hats off to them. They had a lot that went on with obviously Gruden being fired in mid-season, and then Ruggs, the terrible accident that Ruggs was involved in and caused that wound up leading to the death of a young woman in a nasty car accident middle of the season. The Raiders overcame all that. They had some really good tough wins at the end of the season. They toughed it out. They went to Cincinnati against a young up and coming Bengals team that's on fire themselves at the end. Throughout most of the season, but especially at the end of the season, the Bengals took care of business themselves against some really tough teams. So hats off to you Bengals and getting this win. I'm really happy for the Bengals fans who haven't had much to cheer for a very long time. They've got a much needed playoff win here a stout um, against a stout Raiders team. This isn't the most talented team in the NFL, the Raiders, but they're a solid team. They're a solid team. And hey, man, they came back this year, and Raiders got up to a good start, and then the middle of the season, they're kind of looking a little iffy there. And at the end of the season, the Raiders bear down, and they had got some really tough wins against tough teams, including the Chargers on the final game of the season this past Monday night. They went into overtime. Not every team does that, and that takes fortitude, and the Raiders definitely showed fortitude. So they kept fighting. So Raiders are apparently looking for a new head coach, and I kind of get it, but I hope they stick with their interim head coach. I forgot his name, but he was the special teams coach who took over once Gruden was fired or Gruden quit, whatever it was. and I don't know, man. Raiders hung tough. Raiders hung tough. So I'm kind of hoping they stick with him, to be honest with you. But hats off to the Bengals, who got their first playoff win. I'm not sure since when. It's been a while, probably like 10 years. I'm assuming, maybe even longer. I'm not sure. But Bengals are just they have such a good young offense, led by Burrow. This is a great win for them. So I'm really happy for the Bengals. They moved on. Tough game. Raiders made it a really tough game. I'm proud of the Raiders. Bills defeated the Patriots. The second game yesterday, the Bills defeated the Patriots 47-17. This game was never close. And like I was saying to Chris before, Chris's videos had chimed in and said, he thought the Bills were going to destroy the Patriots all along. I originally, I admit, I mean, I picked the Patriots with the spread, getting 4 points, but I thought the Bills would win. In hindsight, I don't know why I thought this game would be so close. I think it's just the Belichick factor, because I do think the Bills are much more talented than the Patriots. And that's nothing against Mac Jones, as the Patriots had a really good season, and they definitely have the quarterback of the future. But Belichick is such a wild card. It's like I said earlier, it's like having Aaron Rodgers, like such an equalizer. And I figured that just he and his, defensive genius would make it a closer game. But Bills took care of business. Behind, of course, who else? Josh Allen, who put up 5 touchdowns. So this is a great game for the Bills. Bills are looking really, really good. AFC is interesting, man. AFC is interesting. It's you got the Bills, you have the Titans, who've got Derrick Henry coming back. They've got the number one seed, and they've got the bye this week. They've got the number one seed in the AFC. Um, you know, Chiefs. The Chiefs are looking more and more like the Chiefs. As the season progressed, they got off to a shaky start. They look better and better. So, man, the AFC is looking interesting. It's looking interesting. So, anyway, let's get to our wild card picks, shall we? The rest of my wild card picks for today's games and the Monday night game. Let's do that. And I'm going to share a screen over here. Boom, boom, boom. Share. There we go, baby. All right, here we go. Can you see this? Let me see. Yep, you can see this. Cool. Okay, so again, let's review. For the Raiders Bengals game, I took the Bengals giving 5.5 points. And I was right. I took the Bengals giving the points and the Bengals straight up. The Bengals won by a touchdown, and it was like I thought it would be. 5.5 points. It's a pretty decent spread, but you know, touchdown's a close game. This was a close game. It was a really good game, but I thought the Bengals would win by probably like 6 or 7 points. So I got this one right both ways, and then for the Patriots and the Bills, I took the Bills getting the 4 points, and I took the Bills straight up. I'm sorry, I took the Patriots getting the points, and I took the Bills straight up. So I was right about the Bills straight up, but I was wrong about the Patriots getting the points. Okay. Let's see. Today's games, the Sunday games. Eagles at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are giving 7.5 points. I'm taking the Buccaneers giving the points and the Buccaneers straight up, but I'll tell you, I feel queasy about the one. I'm definitely sticking to the Buccaneers straight up. Um, but that point spread, if Leonard Fournette were full go, like he's ready to go, he's 100%, I'd feel much better about this. But it's my understanding that Fournette is going to be somewhat limited. At least that's the expectation. And I'm worried with the Buccaneers not having Godwin and Antonio Brown is obviously gone. It's like their two top wide receivers. I like Mike Evans. He is not Godwin, in my opinion, and he's not Antonio Brown. And I think Evans is good enough. They still have Evans. They've got Gronkowski. I don't even know if Evans is 100%, but they've got Evans, Gronkowski, and they really could use Leonard Fournette. But I do think the Buccaneers have enough to pull this game out against the Eagles, but they need Fournette big time. Comments. All right, Dustin. No adult football league means your sport is designed to turn you into a diabetic television watcher. Dustin, I need to lose weight myself, man. You're probably right. But I'll tell you, Dustin, just speaking for myself, I normally don't sit on the couch when I'm watching games. I'm usually standing up um, and in front of the TV. So maybe that's good for something. I'm not exercising when I'm watching the games, but I'm usually standing up in front of my TV. I have a hard time just sitting down just watching football games. Either that or I've got like my headphones on. I'm listening to the game as I'm doing errands like not mowing the lawn, but like shoveling or sweeping, mopping stuff, doing like that. I like to stay busy. Maybe I think I've got like OCD or something, or I don't know, but like I can't just like just sit there and I can't sit down and watch the game myself. I need to be myself. I need to be doing something, whether it's just standing in front of the TV or cleaning up or something as I'm listening to the game. So let's see, NFL and MLB equals television. Yeah, man, I hear you. American football is designed to make you watch television. I'll tell you what, man, a lot of times, like me myself, and you're right, Dustin. Me myself, I like to listen to the games myself. So, like I said, I might have the game on TV. A lot of times, I'm not really watching the entire game. I'll have my headphones on, and I'm doing other stuff as I'm listening to the game. It's sad young boys put so much effort into learning, falling in love with the sport just to have it watch it on television after high school and college. I hear you, man. I hear you. You know what? We should all be out there, at least playing flag football. I think I do believe. All right, my friend, we got to stay active. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to my picks. Dustin, thanks for checking in, man. And please don't forget to hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. But hey, listen, if we're all going to get fat, at least we get fat together, right? All right, so let's move on here to the next game. 49ers at Cowboys. This is going to be a heck of a game. Cowboys are giving 3 points. The game's in Dallas. Cowboys are giving 3 points. I'm taking the Cowboys giving the points and the Cowboys straight up. Man, I don't. It's funny. I keep seeing like all over YouTube or ESPN or whatever that it's kind of like these warning signs coming from experts saying the 49ers could there's a good chance the 49ers are going to upset the Cowboys. It's a bad matchup for the Cowboys. Listen, it's a bad matchup for the 49ers too. So I've had the Cowboys as all season long as one of my top three teams, along with the Buccaneers and the Packers. The Cowboys are a very stout team. I think actually it's one of the ironic thing is this year, I think the weakness of the Cowboys team, at least on their offense, is the running game. Zeke Elliott is not the Zeke of 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And Pollard is a good backup. He's not Zeke. Um, so that does affect them. That definitely affects the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys are just a more talented team, and the 49ers are a problem. Kyle Shanahan's offense, I love Kyle Shanahan, and my God, I wish I could have that on my New York Giants. I wish I could have Kyle Shanahan and or at least his offensive scheme on my Giants. I love Kyle Shanahan's offense. I love what he does with just all of his running backs go down, and he's got his sixth round pick, and undrafted free agents who just come in and just pick it up anyway, and they just go up and they just run the ball on everyone. 49ers are a dangerous offense. I love the 49ers offense, and they've got a really good defense too. But I think the Cowboys are too much. I think the Cowboys offense, even with I think just like a mediocre Zeke this year, the Cowboys still have a really good passing game, really good quarterback, really good offensive line. It's very hard to disrupt the Cowboys offense if you can't get to the quarterback, and it's very hard to get to the quarterback. And the Cowboys have a good defense themselves. I don't think it's a great defense, but it's a good solid. It's more than solid. It's a good defense. Cowboys have a good defense, and I think they're going to disrupt. I think the 49ers running game better be in full effect today, because I think if they're relying on their any in any way in any big way on their passing game, I think it's gonna be a long day for the 49ers. So if the Cowboys can, if they can get a handle on if they can minimize the damage by the 49ers running game, which is tough. It's a tough ask. Uh, I think the Cowboys will take care of things pretty easily, but this should be a good game. It should be a good game, but I'm definitely sticking with the Cowboys giving only 3 points and the Cowboys straight up. Steelers at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are giving 12 and a half points. They're giving 12 and a half points. I'm taking the Steelers getting the points. I'm taking the Chiefs straight up. I'm taking the Steelers getting the points because I do think the Steelers are going to be up for this is potentially Big Ben's last game. If they lose, it's going to be his last game. Um, but it's the playoffs too. They want to win like any team. They want to win and continue to go on. I'm definitely not picking the Steelers to win this game. But I think the Steelers they have a lot of pride. They are a tough team. This is a team that's been in the playoffs as well before too. And Big Ben's potentially his last game. I think the Steelers are going to surprisingly be in this game. At least within 12 and a half points. So I'll take the Steelers getting 12 and a half points, and I'll take the Chiefs straight up to win. And then tomorrow night's game, the Monday night game, Cardinals at the Rams. This is an interesting game. This is the third time these teams have played. Um, the Cardinals routed the Rams in the first game, the first time they played. The second time they played, the Rams took care of the Cardinals. I forgot the score, but I think at that time, I think DeAndre Hopkins I think he was done for the season. And and the Cardinals after like the first 10 games, the Cardinals have really the past like 6 weeks, the Cardinals have really not looked good. They have not looked good. So the Rams are giving 3.5 points. I'm taking the Rams, giving the points, and the Rams straight up. I'm not like huge on the Rams to be honest with you, but I think they enter they're entering the playoffs in a better position right now. I think they're more stout than the Cardinals, and so I'm going with the Rams, giving the points and the Rams straight up. I think the Rams will win by more than 3.5 points. It's a potential blowout here too. Um, the Cardinals have just not looked good for like the past 6 weeks, so there's potential for a blowout in this game, which would be a shame because the Cardinals had a really good season and they are a really good young team. But I think they need more on offense. DeAndre Hopkins, he's down. They need like another really good wide receiver opposite of DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think Kirk is the answer. I think Kirk is like a good number three wide receiver. I do think Rondale Moore is going to be a very good wide receiver for them, but he's not. He hasn't really had that big of he hasn't had much of an impact this year. I would expect next year that Rondale Moore is going to have a much bigger impact, but I think the Cardinals need more weapons, and I think they could use more help at the running back position. I'm not. James Conner is really good at the goal line, but he's not a number one running back, and neither is the other guy. I'm brain farting on his name, but the guy who's really their starting running back. I'm not really into him either as a real top tier number one running back. I think the Cardinals need more help on offense. But I think this game's got potential to be a blowout in favor of the Rams. I really do. But anyway, so those are my picks for the rest of these games. And that's pretty much a wrap on this series so far. Again, where I've been every Sunday morning, where I've been doing a recap of the NCAA games and a preview of the NFL games. It's going to start being draft content, everyone, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. Again, I'm really looking forward to introducing you to a lot of these college players. Many of us uh, we're NFL fans. We don't really follow college football, or maybe you follow college football, but you're just familiar with the teams. You're not really familiar with the players. I'm really looking forward to introducing a lot of these players to you, and I'm looking forward. And I've been learning a lot about these players myself, doing my own research in preparation for doing these draft videos that I'm going to be doing. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys and gals. Anyway, before I go, reminder, here are the Twitter handles for me and all of my colleagues here at Toilets and Titles. Please give everyone a follow. I'd really appreciate it. It's just such a great crew to work with. Everyone brings something to the table, whether it's videos or articles. Everyone brings something to the table, man. It's really cool. And a friendly reminder: don't forget to give us that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, give us that 5-star Apple review. And that is it. This is Joe. I'm out of here. Enjoy these NFL playoff games this week, and I will be back soon with the next few months with draft content, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Everyone, take care.